Have you ever felt like you're living in a completely different reality than everyone else? Imagine a world where your intuition is your loudest voice. Forget everything you think you know about normal. For some people, especially those with the INFJ personality, the everyday world can feel strangely uncommon. INFJs are famously rare, only about 1 to 3% of the population. And full of apparent contradictions, they're easygoing perfectionists, both deeply analytical and profoundly emotional at the same time. In this cinematic introspective journey, we'll open the curtain on the INFJ mind, their uncommon normal, and explore why the internal world of an INFJ often seems so different from what the outside world expects. The inner compass, NI, introverted intuition. To start, let's enter the realm of the INFJ's dominant function, introverted intuition, or NI. This is the inner compass of the INFJ, a subconscious pattern detector and future vision generator. NI works like an internal processor that sifts through countless clues from the world around the INFJ. It quietly grabs bits of information, sensations, memories, ideas, and assembles them almost like puzzle pieces. The result is a sudden, almost magical hunch or insight. It's why an INFJ might think about a problem and hours later, or even in their sleep, boom, an answer arrives without conscious effort. As one expert notes, the lion's share of an INFJ's thinking or cognitive processing occurs outside of their conscious awareness. Their best thinking is typically done without thinking. This NI compass gives INFJs a sneak peek of the future. They often have a strong sense of foresight or premonition about how things will unfold. For example, they might describe it as having a clear mental movie of a possible outcome or a gut feeling that turns out to be right. Stephen King, an INTJ who shares NI, even says his stories emerge fully formed from his unconscious. INFJs report a very similar experience. It feels as if ideas and solutions appear out of nowhere, but in truth, NI has quietly been running in the background. If NI were a movie scene, it would be a time-lapse shot of an INFJ's mind processing the world. Hidden, abstract, and always converging on a big picture vision. Imagine an INFJ walking down a busy street. They may notice tiny details, a slight twitch in someone's smile, the color of the sky, a snippet of conversation, and subconsciously weave these together into an intuitive understanding of what's going on. Later they might say, I just knew something was off, or this will probably happen, and it turns out to be true. It can feel uncanny. Sometimes INFJs describe it as if they're not in one place in time, sensing patterns that bridge the past and future. This deep pattern recognition is NI at work. Though it seems mystical, NI has a rational basis. According to personality theory, INFJs often have a strong but unconscious sensory intake, their SE function. And then NI unconsciously processes all that rich data to produce an insight. It's as if the INFJ's brain is a supercomputer calmly calculating beneath the surface. The ending result is an impression that seems to come out of nowhere, but it's really a synthesis of everything their mind has absorbed. In practice, this means an INFJ may half close their eyes and say, I feel certain about this, while the rest of us are scratching our heads asking, why? How? That gap between the INFJ's inner certainty and the outside world's confusion is where normal starts to feel foreign. FE's lens, extroverted feeling. Next, let's shift the lens to the INFJ's auxiliary function, extroverted feeling, or FE. If NI is the INFJ's inner eye, FE is like their external heart. It turns the INFJ into a kind of emotional antenna, constantly tuned to the feelings of people around them. Imagine walking into a room and instantly sensing the mood, picking up on tension or joy as easily as hearing footsteps. INFJs with FE often subconsciously scan the emotional weather in every situation. They notice if someone's eyebrows furrow, if the energy has dipped, or if a friend's voice is unusually quiet. In effect, FE acts like an emotional sonar. Hey, what's the vibe in here? It asks. Is anyone feeling hurt, left out, or uneasy? Because Faye cares deeply about harmony, an INFJ will often move to soothe and fix emotional rifts. If someone looks upset, the INFJ might take on the role of peacemaker, even if it means stepping into someone else's pain. Psychology experts describe INFJs as the unofficial therapists of any group. They feel other people's pain so acutely that they instinctively try to ease it. As one coach wrote, INFJs become the unofficial therapists of their family, friends, workplace. They're quietly bleeding out from their own wounds while emotionally triaging someone else's. In other words, an INFJ might listen to a friend unload their problems, offering comfort and solutions, all while ignoring their own bottled up feelings. This fierce empathy is beautiful, but has a shadow side. FE prioritizes everyone else's emotional well-being, often at the INFJ's personal cost. INFJs will notice if a partygoer looks lonely and will spend all night making sure they feel included. They'll feel compelled to cheer up a grieving coworker, sometimes suppressing their own sadness along the way. Experts note that Faye is like an emotional sonar system. For INFJs, it tracks and fixes the emotional energy in the room. The hope is to create a sense of shared feeling and harmony. INFJs relish those moments of connection, and friends of INFJs often describe them as giving just the right thing to hear when someone's down. But the cost is that INFJs can lose their own signal. FE's blind spot is that it's not designed to prioritize the INFJ's feelings. It constantly asks, what do you feel? How can I help you feel better? It doesn't ask, how do I feel? Psychologist A.J. Drenth puts it this way. FE in an INFJ wants to soothe, to mend, to fix the broken energy in the room. But it inadvertently means the INFJ forgets they have any needs of their own. In practice, this can look like an INFJ saying, I'm fine, as they smile and nod, even as their heart is quietly heavy. They've given so much emotional energy to others that there's none left for themselves. So with FE, the INFJ's world is not just cognitive, it's emotional. When you're with an INFJ, you might find yourself opening up without even realizing it. They have an uncanny knack for making people feel understood, but they also constantly monitor your emotional state like a dial. If tension creeps in, their FE impulses will make them intervene, sometimes at the expense of speaking their own truth. This explains why INFJs often feel drained or overwhelmed in social settings. Their internal FE is active the whole time, even if their exterior seems calm. The INFJ hears everyone's whispers of emotion, but their own whisper often goes unheard. Ty's framework, internal logic. Now let's turn inward again to the INFJ's tertiary function, introverted thinking, or Ty. While Ni and Phi are the INFJ's big powers, Ty is like the quiet scholar in the corner, the part of the INFJ that analyzes, categorizes, and vets everything internally. Think of T as an internal library or database. It gathers facts, principles, and rules that make sense to them. It asks, does this idea hold up logically? Does it fit with what I already know? If Ni gives the vision and Faye feels the vibe, T checks them off for coherence. T operates on questions like, what makes sense and how can I put this idea into a rational framework? Importantly, it doesn't care if a thought feels right emotionally. It cares if it's logically correct. It's like having an inner lawyer who cross-examines every intuition or feeling. This internal logic helps the INFJ sort through their own complex ideas. For example, an INFJ might have a strong hunch about a friend's behavior, NI, and feel a certain compassion toward them. FE. But before they speak up, their T will run the scenario internally. How should I articulate this? Is this the right approach? That's why INFJs often end up framing their insights very carefully. T has worked to give them clear words. When T kicks in, INFJs can suddenly become very analytical and precise. In a debate or serious discussion, they might switch from warm and empathetic to surprisingly cold and exact. One observer notes that an INFJ can go from being a soft encourager to sounding almost surgical, combing through every word for contradictions. This sometimes surprises others because INFJs are mostly known for being tender. But when T takes the wheel, it's about truth and coherence. However, T also has a darker side for INFJs. It's often called the critical parent, a voice inside that judges every idea and decision. Since it's introverted and tertiary, INFJs only rely on it occasionally. But when they do, it can be intense. Their tie is constantly asking, is this sound? Am I sure? Did I miss something? Because Ni and Fei are so strong, T may feel like a nagging question mark. It's not unusual for an INFJ to be convinced of something in one moment, thanks to NI/FE, and then have TI whisper doubts in the next moment. But is that reasonable? What if I'm wrong? This is why INFJs can sometimes get stuck in thought loops. If T dominates without Fe's grounding, the INFJ might spiral into overanalyzing, caught in their head with endless what-ifs. Psychology experts warn of the Ni-Tai loop. When INFJs rely only on intuition and logic and withdraw from the social, emotional world, they can feel isolated and indecisive. For example, an INFJ might interpret a subtle clue through NI, start doubting it with TI, and never get to the stage of actually discussing it with someone, FE. In healthy balance, T is the infrequent but helpful voice that polishes the INFJ's insights. It helps them articulate their visions in an organized way. It can be the spark of curiosity that drives them to study something in depth or to journal their thoughts. But if T overreaches, it turns into imposter syndrome. I'm not sure I'm right, or maybe I shouldn't say this. INFJs learn or must learn to use TI as an ally, not as a tyrant. The internal critic can become a supportive advisor, one that suggests rather than demands. And indeed, INFJs who can balance all three functions, Ni vision, Phi empathy, Tai logic, are some of the most insightful and compassionate people you'll meet. Navigating normal. So how does this all play out in the external world? For INFJs, normal social life often feels like a different planet. Many INFJs report feeling misunderstood or out of sync. Why? It comes down to how the INFJ's inner world contrasts with everyday expectations. First, INFJs perceive the world through Ni and Phi, which is rare. In the general population, only about 8% are introverted intuitives like INFJs, INTJs, ENFJs, and ENTJs. By contrast, sensory types, those who think and speak in concrete, linear terms, make up the vast majority, roughly 73%. Imagine trying to describe a dream using a shopping list. It's just hard. INFJs often think in images, symbols, and long chains of meaning. One INFJ told a researcher, "My ideas are so abstract, I can't find the words. In my mind, it's clear, but when I speak, everything scatters like dust." Simply, INFJs are often non-linear thinkers in a linear world. When an INFJ tries to explain a rich inner vision, others might hear fragments and not catch the deeper pattern. This can lead to frustration on both sides. Moreover, the Western social script tends to prize small talk, visible confidence, and immediate facts, the opposite of how many INFJs operate. For example, polite small talk about the weather might feel shallow or even grating to an INFJ. Meanwhile, if they naturally steer a conversation toward meaning of life topics, They may hear comments like, "Get your head out of the clouds," or "Snap back to reality." As one INFJ lamented, people often dismissed her insights and told her she was strange or living in a different time. This cultural mismatch makes INFJs feel like the odd ones out, odd, different, or just plain misunderstood. Socially, INFJs also often act as what is called a social chameleon. Their fey drives them to adapt to the emotions of a group. In a meeting, they might express exactly what the team needs to hear to stay motivated. At a party, they'll intuit the vibe and bend to keep the peace. But this can backfire internally. Because they spend so much energy meeting others' needs, they can lose themselves in the process. That means by the end of the event, the INFJ wonders if anyone saw their true self or if they were just acting out a role. The advice pages put it bluntly: too much harmony seeking can make INFJs feel invisible or unheard. They might start a sentence with a big idea and then shy away from finishing it if the group seems confused. Or worse, they might keep quiet, nodding along, quietly shrinking inside while feeling more and more isolated. Here are some practical examples of how INFJs can clash with normal expectations. The conversation gap. An INFJ might try to explain a hunch, a dream, or a solution to a problem. They paint a vivid picture in their mind, but when they open their mouth, the words don't do it justice. People might stare or finish their sentence for them. The INFJ leaves feeling like they have unspoken brilliance inside that no one gets. The underrated intuition. Imagine an INFJ predicts an outcome and it happens. They say, "I told you so," but maybe others reply, "Wow, you're lucky," or "That was a weird guess." The INFJ knows the prediction came from deep observation, NI, not luck, but this difference rarely gets acknowledged. As one INFJ put it, "I foreseen many things. When they did happen, people just laughed me off. I just wanted to feel accepted." The empathy burnout. In groups, the INFJ often ends up as peacemaker. If someone is upset, the INFJ finds out what happened and tries to fix it, but no one notices how tired the INFJ is. It's like they vanish while holding everyone's emotional world together. The outside world is often loud, fast, and shallow. INFJs prefer quiet, slow, meaningful spaces. When the world goes a million miles an hour, INFJs feel rushed and misunderstood. They may get a headache from crowds or feel exhausted after social events that others shrug off. Because INFJs are so rare, they may never have met someone who works exactly like them. They can feel like strangers in their own land, carrying around that sense of being different from most people. It's not that INFJs can't fit in at all. They can hold jobs, have friends, enjoy parties, but often they feel on the outside looking in. The normal view is alien to them, and that can be lonely and frustrating. Finding your tribe. If this feels heavy, take heart. INFJs aren't supposed to thrive by becoming normal. Instead, they can flourish by finding their tribe, people and places where their unique voice is heard and cherished. First, remember, you are not alone. There are other INFJs and many other empathetic, intuitive people out there. It might take effort to find them, but they exist in every community if you look. For instance, INFJs often light up in environments that allow depth and creativity. Book clubs, art classes, volunteer organizations, spiritual groups, and online forums can be safe havens. As one INFJ blogger says, we crave friendships where our deepest fears and emotions can escape, to talk about the meaning of life. If you love discussing big ideas, maybe philosophy, psychology, or planning for a better world, seek out communities centered on those passions. You'll likely find others who get excited by the same topics. Even volunteering for causes like environmental or social justice can connect you with people who share your values. One encouraging sign, research suggests people like you more than you think they do. A psychological study noted that after a conversation, people rated their partner as more likable than their partner had thought of themselves. On this liking gap means that when you are worried about whether you fit in or impress others, they might actually be forming a positive impression of you. So don't underestimate your quiet charm. Next time you meet someone new, try slowly steering the chat towards something meaningful you're passionate about. You don't always have to fake small talk. If you feel comfortable, ask something deeper. What are your favorite activities? Or what would you do if you had a magic wand? These kinds of questions can transform a regular conversation into a memorable exchange. And to the INFJs watching, it's okay to start small. Maybe rekindle an old friendship that once felt meaningful, or join an online INFJ community. Yes, there are plenty on social media and forums where you can safely share without judgment. As one INFJ coach advises, write down people you already know and think. Who among them shares your kindness or curiosity? Invite them for coffee and surprise yourself and them by having a real conversation. When you worry, remember, others like you more than you think. Often our insecurities project louder in our own mind than the other person actually perceives. Now, to the non-INFJs watching, if you have an INFJ in your life, knowing what makes them tick can be a gift. They crave authenticity, so give them the space to share their quirky ideas without rolling your eyes. A simple way to appreciate an INFJ is to listen. Ask them about something important to them and really listen. Validate their intuition. Even if it sounds far out, try responding with, "That sounds interesting, tell me more." You'd be surprised how valued that makes them feel. Often what an INFJ needs is a kind of permission to open up. If you can smile and encourage them when they share a feeling or a visionary idea, you're doing more than you might think. Everyone deserves at least one person who makes them feel seen. You could be that person for an INFJ you care about. Likewise, INFJs should learn and remind themselves that others usually mean well, even when they don't fully understand. When someone asks, "Are you okay?" after you've been quiet, it may just be genuine concern, not criticism. You might explain, "I'm lost in thought. Let me share with you," turning the silence into an invitation. Finding your tribe is a two-way street. Part of it is seeking out others who vibe at your depth, and part of it is bridging the gap to people who come from a different place. In sum, INFJs find their people by being true to themselves and by gently inviting others into their world. Small steps help: a comment in a forum, a chat after a lecture, a creative project with classmates. Communities form around common language, and INFJs speak the language of meaning and feeling. Celebrate that. Your insights and your empathy are gifts. The world needs more of them, even if it doesn't always know it yet. The INFJ's mind is like a quiet, sacred theater where intuition, feeling, and thought all play their parts. It's not broken or wrong, it's just different from what we often call normal. Embracing that difference is key. Every INFJ brings something invaluable: a fresh perspective on reality, deep compassion for others, and a principled drive to make the world better. Their path may be less common, but it's powerful. As one INFJ community reminds us, you are not alone. There's a world of us all struggling with the same insecurities, trying to figure out our place in the social sphere. If you've recognized yourself in this video, know this: your way of seeing the world is a strength. Let Ni guide you to insights. Let Phi remind you of your kindness, and let T help you trust your truth. Keep searching for the people and places where that kind of you is celebrated. You deserve that colorful, deep friendship you crave, and so much more. Thank you for taking this journey into the INFJ mind. I hope it helped you feel seen and understood. If it did, please like this video and subscribe. It really helps others find content like this. Share your thoughts and your own experiences in the comments below. Have you felt that uncanny INFJ shift in your life? Let's build that tribe right here. I'll be reading, and who knows, you might find kindred spirits right in this community. And stay tuned, because next time we're diving into another unique personality world. From mystic visionaries to strategic thinkers, no path is the same. Until then, embrace your uncommon normal. The world is already a little crazier for it.